Good afternoon, everyone, and we are excited to welcome you to today's webinar. We will spend the next half an hour or so beginning to prepare you for our Hill Day, which is, I think, 23 days away, which is really exciting. We want to recognize, we know this is going to be a lot of information we're going to pour at you, so we will make the webinar available afterwards so that you can continue to prepare for Hill Day. So before we jump in, I wanted to start with some brief introductions. My name is Kendall Mealy. I am the Manager of Government Relations and Advocacy at the Physician Assisted Education Association. Today I am joined by Rachel Stevenson, who is the Legislative Director at Pulsinelli. Pulsinelli is helping us to elevate ourselves as PAEA on Capitol Hill and also advance our legislative agenda. She is also working to schedule our visits for Hill Day, and so many of you have received emails from her confirming your appointments, and if you have not, then trust me, you will be receiving lots of communication from her. So before we jump in, I just want to ask again to remind everyone to please mute your lines. We do have a lot of feedback sometimes, so we can unmute you at the end, but if you could mute, that would be very helpful. So we wanted to start by first thanking you. Thanking you as PA educators for understanding how important advocacy is and for signing up for this important event. This is PAEA's largest concerted effort to Capitol Hill so far, and we've got over 250 participants. So again, thank you, and we are very excited to have you. Today on the webinar, we'll review the Capitol Hill, the Hill Day agenda. We will talk about how to navigate Capitol Hill, go over the congressional meeting, preview some of the issues we'll discuss, and also talk about how to prepare for your Capitol Hill visits. So first things first, we will go through the Hill Day agenda, and we will have buses departing from the hotel between 11:30 and 11:45, and they will drop us off directly on the grounds of Capitol Hill at Garfield Circle. Between 12:30 and 3 o'clock, we will be making our Capitol Hill visits, and these visits are with both senators and your member of Congress, your representative. So we recognize that some delegations won't hit all three, and due to some folks' commitments at the Education Forum, you might not get all three, but our aim is to get you both senators and your representative. At 2:45 to 3:15, we will begin departing from Capitol Hill and heading back to the hotel. And our goal is to get us back before we miss the president's address at 3:30. So Hill visits will likely end by 3 o'clock, and we will have shuttles on a loop that will take us back to the hotel. And then from 5:30 to 6:30 that Thursday night, we will have a Hill Visit reception. And we ask that everyone who was able to do congressional visits join us for the receptions so that we can celebrate you and talk about your experience with the rest of your colleagues who may have not been able to join us. And just a few reminders, on Wednesday, November 11th, this is the day before Hill Day, we will have a Hill Visit orientation. This is where you will be meeting with your delegations. We'll go over specific talking points. You will receive your Hill Day packets, all of your materials you'll need to make your visits. And I have had a few folks email me saying that their flight doesn't come until later or they've got a conflict, they won't be able to make this orientation. We will have a room of requirement all day on Thursday, open at 7 a.m. So on Hill Day, if you need to pick up packets or get any more information, you can find us there. But we would highly encourage you to attend the session on Wednesday because you will be meeting with your delegation. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Rachel, and she will talk about navigating Capitol Hill.
Thank you so much, Kendall, and good afternoon, everybody. I know going up to Capitol Hill may be a new experience for many of you, and so we want to kind of go over and map it out for you today. So here's on your right-hand side of the screen is a map of the Capitol Hill complex. And we're going to go over different sections. And don't worry, we will include maps the day of, and we'll be going through this again just to make sure you really, truly feel comfortable on where you are going on November 12th. So the buses, as Kendall said, are going to be picking you up in front of the hotel, and you are going to have a short walk. So wear good walking shoes. From the bottom of the hill, it is truly a hill, at Garfield Park. So Garfield Park, if you look on the left side of the map, it's the lower arrow, and that is where the bus will drop you off. From there, you are going to go to the House or Senate side, wherever your first meeting is located, and we'll go over each side for you. At the end of your meeting, you will actually have buses that are going to be able to pick you back up and bring you back to the hotel. To find that pickup bus back to the hotel, you are going to go to Peace Circle, which is the top arrow, and on the Senate side of the Capitol. Like I said, you are on a hill, so it doesn't matter if you're going to the House or Senate side. It is a bit of a walk. It is an uphill walk, and it's about 10 to 15 minutes, depending on the pace that you walk. So again, wear comfortable walking shoes and get ready for a good exercise as you storm the hill. So let's go into a little bit more about the House and Senate buildings. Let's start with the House side. In the lower southern part of the Capitol Hill complex are three buildings that make up the House of Representatives. You have the Rayburn Building, which is the first one on the left, the Longworth Building, which is in the middle, and the Cannon House Office Building, which is the one on your right, all in orange and circled. Let me give you an insider tip. When you see the room numbers, it helps decide which room and which building you're going to. The Rayburn and Longworth buildings both have 4-digit room numbers, and the Cannon building has a 3. For Rayburn, the first number of every room is going to be a 2. So if you have a room 2354, you're not going to the 23rd floor of a building. You're actually going to 2, which dictates the Rayburn building, and to the 3rd floor, which is dictated by the 3. So the actual room number 2354 will be actually on the 3rd floor of the Rayburn building. For Longworth, the first number is going to be a 1. So for example, in the room number 1523, you'll be meeting in the Longworth building on the 5th floor. And then Cannon keeps it simple. It's a 3-digit room number, where the floor number 343 would be on the 3rd floor. The nice thing is all 3 of these buildings are connected underground with tunnels. So you can go freely between all 3 buildings, and there is no security once you go through the initial security line. For your Senate meetings, you will also have 3 buildings. They're located in the top northern part of your map, and they're all in red. Russell Senate Office Building is the one on your left. And then the one on your right is actually one building composed of 2 office buildings, Dirksen and Hart. Hart and Dirksen are actually connected, so you can walk from one level to the next and be able to be in either building. To reach the Russell building, however, you can either go underground through an underground tunnel, or you actually have to go outside of the building and enter through security again into the Russell Senate Office Building. Keep in mind that while it looks close from the House side to the Senate side, it is a 15 to 25-minute walk depending on how fast you go, and there are no tunnels underground between the House and the Senate side that are available for public use. So you will be walking outside. So now I'm going to turn it back over to Kendall to talk about some of our top issues.
Great. Thank you, Rachel. So we've been getting a few questions on what are we going to say for Hill Day. And we wanted to go over sort of broadly and just give you a really comprehensive overview of what you could be expected to talk about. And just give you a little bit of background in terms of where we are right now, which is working with Karen Bass to introduce comprehensive legislation. We are working very diligently, both PAA and Pulcinelli. We have our fingers crossed that we will get pieces of legislation introduced before Hill Day. And this legislation would include support for students, support for your program. So this is where Title VII comes into play, and also faculty recruitment and development, talking about some loan forgiveness. And I just wanted to reiterate a point earlier. We will be giving you very clear talking points on the day before Hill Day, the Capitol Hill orientation. And you will also get a note card with the top 1, 2, 3 talking points that you can take with you to aid you on your congressional meetings. So really, we just want to let you know that your job is to talk about your role in PA education. You're not going to be asked to talk about the bill specifically. You will not be asked to talk about any legislation comprehensively or refer to particular bill language. You won't have to talk about pay-fors and really wonky legislative issues. So that job is really for us. Your job is to talk about your role as a PA educator. So as this legislation or these pieces of legislation become introduced, we will keep you abreast of those developments, and rest assured we will equip you with talking points so you'll be prepared to go make your congressional meetings. So with that, I will turn it back to Rachel, and she's going to take us through some tips for congressional meetings.
Thank you, Kendall. So let's start with some pre-meeting suggestions for you, just to make sure you are set up for some successful Hill visits. First of all, Map it out. I suggest that when you look at these Capitol Hill maps the night before, even prior to your visit, and as you get your schedule sent to you via email and on the day of, map out where your legislators' offices are located. Look at the schedule. Know how much time it's going to take, and make sure you know where you're going. It's important to realize that there may be some lines, so factor those in, and keep in mind that you want to strive to arrive to these Hill meetings a few minutes early. That allows for those last-minute meeting reviews, to meet up with your group, and just to make sure you have all your ducks in a row before you meet with your staff or member. I would always suggest that when you think about your meeting, that even though you would love to meet with your legislator, the schedule currently will probably have most of your meetings with legislative staff. And this is actually a great thing. The legislative staff, while they may look young and inexperienced, are actually very knowledgeable, well-educated, know this issue as part of their portfolio, and have the ear of the congressman or congresswoman or senator on this issue. So they are an expert and a great person to meet with. But with that being said, their day is stacked. I used to work on the Hill, and I would get in at about 6 or 7 a.m. and leave at 7 or 8 p.m., and my day was scheduled every 15 minutes. So expect that these meetings will last only about 15 minutes. It may be less, it may be a little more, and it can be held anywhere. So we are going to go through some good steps to really break it up for you to make sure that these are effective and successful meetings. So I'm going to give you 6 today. I think that's a good number to stick with. And these 6 steps will make sure that you have a successful meeting. So step 1, rock the introduction, right? You need a good introduction to really capture the attention of the member or staff that you're meeting with. And to do that, we need you to plan ahead of time. Decide who's going to lead the introduction. And it really should be led by that PAEA member who has a hometown connection whenever possible. I want you to share your personal story or an anecdote, maybe about a previous meeting you had with a member or a time that the congressional member came to your program. Tell them about PAEA. Tell them where you practice. Tell them what you do. Really draw them in this introduction. Step 2, let's pair that introduction with some good background material. I want you to provide that basic detail about the organization immediately following your introduction. Some legislators and staff may be unfamiliar with PAEA, so let them know about their mission and their membership. Let them know that PAEA is the only national organization representing physician-assisted educational programs in the U.S. Let them know that currently every single one of the accredited programs in the country are members of the association. This is unheard of and an amazing point to drive home. Remind them that PAEA has 196 programs across 46 states with more than 7,500 graduates from PA programs in 2014 alone. Remind them that nearly 1 in 3 PAs work in primary care and that 37% work in these underserved communities. These key facts, paired with information about your institution, your PA program, your students, your faculty, and your graduates, really help give that 1-2 punch for a successful meeting. Step 3. I want you to use those stories that you had in your introduction and blend in some statistics that you used in your background to really make it real, right? Show these lawmakers and make it relatable to their district and to their state. Let them get up close and personal with PA educators and the PAEA. Let them know real stories about your students, maybe some student loan or debt information about your faculty development opportunities, federal funding that's out there for PAs that we need, clinical rotations. This is an opportunity for you to really get the ear of the congressman through their staff or through the members themselves and drive home those stories and statistics. Step 4. Some people find that step 4 is the hardest, but it is one of the most important steps, and that is make a request. We want these members to work for you, and we want to make sure they know what we are looking for. So as Kendall mentioned, you are going to have a wonderful note card that is going to provide these requests for you, and that way you can kind of check them off and make sure that that member or that staff member knows exactly what we need for them to do to make sure that PAEA and PA education is at the top of the list. I'm always reminded of a really good anecdote, which is if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. Well, we're at the table and we want to tell them what we need. Remember, focus on the impact that these requests have on PA education, the impact they have on your institution and your practice, and for the public at large. It's really important to drive these points home. Step 5, we are almost there. We are at the conclusion. This is a great time to sum it up. And I really suggest if you're with a group, have a designated closer. This is someone who can really summarize what you've been saying and requests that have been made. Remember to thank that legislator and or staff for their time because it is valued and they are making time for you. Provide your contact information, preferably in the form of a business card. And when you do that, convey your interest of serving as their resource. Invite them to visit your program if possible and remain in contact with them. To do that, you need to ask them for their card as well. Keep that in your Rolodex of information so that way you have a contact with your member of Congress here in DC. Step 6, follow up. Your meeting is done, and the age-old saying, it ain't over until it's over. Well, it ain't over when you walk out of this room. This conversation needs to continue. The work and excitement for PA education needs to continue. So to do that, we strongly encourage you to send a thank you email. We'll have a draft for you, so it should be easier. But make sure you include that short summary of your position, include some good things that were talked about in the meeting, and make sure that you send this not only to the staff member, but I always suggest you send it to the member themselves, even if they weren't in that meeting. Members love to hear when staff are having a good meeting and love to hear who they're meeting with. It's a great way to win over a staff member and show the congressman or congresswoman that their work is also being done. Provide any additional requests for information in your follow-up. Maybe there was a question that you need to get an answer to or a statistic that you didn't quite remember. Make sure you include that in this follow-up. Remember to contact your legislator and staff every few months. Check in on them. Keep your name fresh in their mind. Maybe there's a news article that you see or an opportunity for that legislator to visit your institution and conduct tours of a PA program. Let them know about it and keep them updated on what's happening. In that follow-up, remind them that you want to serve as a resource on PA education issues, that you are here to help them understand what is going on. So those are the 6 steps to success, and I know it seems like a lot, so I want to kind of give you some meeting tips to try to sum it up for you. Just kind of remember what we're working for and remember how to make these successful meetings just that, a success. Remember to connect yourself to the district or state. Let them know you are a constituent. You are voting for them. You know the impacts directly in your state or in your district. Let them know that. Find common ground. Chat about maybe a place where you grew up or that really fun, ice cream parlor or some sort of connection to be able to draw them in. And from there, build that relationship and really be able to drive home PA education and the issues that we're here to talk about. With that, clearly state your position because meetings may be short and stick to the issues at hand. We have these great talking points. We'll have a little cheat sheet for you just to make sure that once you speak about that personal experience, you can blend in our requests and a lot of the talking points into your dialogue. Don't forget to share your personal story, but back up that personal story with statistics and facts and figures. If you don't understand something, ask for clarification. It's always good to make sure you are on the same page. And furthermore, if that staff member or member asks you something you don't know, tell them that and let them know that you will get back with them. This does 2 things. 1, it gives you an opportunity to, when you reply, provide them with information and be that credible resource that we so want you to become. And 2, it also gives you a chance to say, I'm not going to make this up. I want to give you the correct information. The last thing we need is on the front page of a local newspaper, wrong information. And that's the last thing that they want. So be that credible resource, and if you don't know, that's okay. We can always get back to them later. Remember, you might be meeting with a member of Congress that you don't think likes PA education or isn't on the same page as you, or maybe you guys don't align politically, but try to stay away from those assumptions and go in with an open mind. I find that many times if I go in with an open mind, I'm surprised by how helpful the office is and how much they want to help with these issues. Remember again that you'll be meeting with a staffer most likely instead of that member. It's a great thing. They are experts. They have the ear of the member of Congress. And while the meetings may be short, 10 to 20 minutes max, be concise, be available, and make sure you hit home the major points on the little cheat sheet we give you. So with that, I want to turn it back over to Kendall to give you some do's and don'ts for your congressional visit.
Great, thanks, Rachel. So just wanted to wrap up with a few do's and don'ts. And this really reinforces a lot of the things that Rachel said. So the first, present the need for what you're asking the legislator to do. This is self-explanatory here. We've really got to make the case for PA education and why these issues are so important to us. Relate the issues back to your home state and district. As we know, politics is local, and you are the constituent. You elect these members of Congress, so it's really important that you make that connection for them. Learn the legislator's position and ask why they take that position. It's very important to do your research, so we would recommend going to the member's website, which you can find through house.gov, senate.gov. Open Congress is also a great resource if you want to see how they align on specific issues, learn sort of more about their voting patterns. Regardless, we just ask that you really prepare for these meetings and do a little bit of background research. Also, it's important, like Rachel mentioned earlier, to admit when you don't know the answer and get back to them. It's a great way to keep the door open, allows you to follow up, and assure that you are a credible resource. Do develop relationships with legislative staff. These are really the folks who are going to get work done. They're going to be the ones who really advance our issues to the member of Congress. So developing a relationship with them is very key. And just an example of how you could do this is if you meet during Hill Day, you could send a follow-up email. Maybe sometime in the spring, you send an email just to check in. Maybe during August, you invite the member of Congress to your program during August recess. So just really recognizing that you've got to do your part with any relationship to really keep that relationship going, especially with legislative staff. And also, again, to thank the legislator and the staff that you meet with through a follow-up email. So some don'ts. Do not overload the legislator or the congressional staff with too much information, too many issues. As Rachel said, they are swamped. They meet with a lot of constituents, which is a wonderful thing, but we want to make sure that we are concise and to the point. I know that none of you wonderful PA educators will do this, but let's not confront, threaten, pressure, beg, and be argumentative. That just goes without saying. We want to respect them, and I'm sure they will lend us the same respect in return. Don't use medical jargon. And this sort of is the same with abbreviations in DC. A lot of times we just sort of throw out alphabet soup as if everyone understands us. Similarly, so here, don't use too many terms that they cannot, or don't use any terms, rather, that they can't understand or that they might ask for clarity on. And also, don't expect members of Congress to be specialists. This is why they rely heavily on their staff. So going into specifics about PA education and training, just recognizing that a member of Congress might not understand all those nuances. Don't make promises you can't deliver. We want to be credible. We want to be good resources. So if there's something that you can't provide a member of Congress or their staff, again, just saying that you'll get back with them is a perfectly acceptable answer. Don't overstate the case. Just, again, recognizing that these meetings are going to be short and brief, so concision is much appreciated. And don't be offended if you've got to meet with the staff. Rachel talked about this thoroughly. They are really key to developing policy, advancing our issues. So a staff meeting is great. And please do not mention campaigns, any contributions you've done. Maybe you worked or you donate for the member of Congress or have donated. This meeting is about PA education, and so we want to make sure that we separate that from all of the politics and campaigns as much as we can. So with that, I will turn it to Rachel, and she will give you some final tips on how you can prepare.
Thanks, Kendall. So what can you do before you come out to Washington, D.C., before you storm the Hill, before you become a Hill Day hero and just do an amazing job? Well, the first thing that you can do is gather information about your program. Look at your program length, look at the cost, the percent into primary care, innovation training models, rural initiatives, All of the above. Research your legislator. Know their positions on these issues. Double check their website. See what's going on. There's a lot of things that happen in each district every day, and while it may not be PA education that day, we want to make sure we can connect it to what's happening so they understand the connection back to the district. Bring those extra business cards. Figure out where your legislator's office is located, and be prepared to talk about your job. Don't worry, you will be quizzed on the ins and outs of all of this, but this is really an opportunity for you to share your role, how amazing PA education is, not only to the district, but to the nation and to our healthcare system, and really drive home at what I've knowledge is now 200 PA programs and the great work they do to provide our healthcare with the PAs needed. And remember,
you are the expert. So you are the educator. You know everything there is to know about your PA program, what it means to be not only a PA, but a PA educator. So we really want you to feel empowered, feel confident. We are here as staff to help make your experience more effective and memorable. So if there's anything we can do to aid in your preparation or to make this experience more enjoyable, please let us know. And we really want you to have fun. We are very excited about this. We're very enthusiastic. We know this will be a great time, and we're working diligently at the national office to make this experience just as fun as we know it will be. So are there any questions before we end the webinar? I think we are right on time. I see we have one. For those who cannot make the Wednesday meeting, where should we go on Thursday morning to pick up our packets? That's a great question, and there is a Capitol Hill room of requirement that's in the hotel. It's called the Roslyn Room, and I know this information will be articulated in all of your education forum packets and materials as well. So that Roslyn Room will open at 7 o'clock, and there you can come. It'll be staffed. You can ask questions and pick up the materials that you may not be able to pick up on Wednesday. Are there any more questions? Okay, with that, we thank you very much and hope you have a wonderful day. We will be posting this webinar so that you guys can prepare. Oh, yep, I see another one that came in. How much should we talk about the challenge of getting clinical rotations? Melissa, that's a great question. We do talk about that a lot on our just routine visits that we do. I think that's something that you can definitely talk about in light of your PA program. And as we talk about successes and make ask, you can ask specific information about your program. So articulating that there is a challenge to get clinical rotations is perfectly fine. And we'd be happy as staff to go over that with you on site if you want to talk more.
Do we currently have any talking points about graduate students not having subsidized loans available to them?
Hi, that's a great question. And we do. That is one of the big components of the legislation we're working on. So you will get talking points with all of that information on site. But rest assured, student loans is one of the big issues that we're working on and increasing those unsubsidized Stafford loan limits. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone, and have a great day.